Hello, good morning to each and everyone. Ni hao ma, my topic focused on the four major functions of management, its application in the school setting leadership. By the way, I'm Engineer Rodrigo Picalapan and I am currently connected at Lyceum Ubalabang Senior High School. My topic outline focused on the role of the school administrators, difference between leadership and management, leadership style, four major functions of management, and its application of management in school setting leadership. Okay, so to start with, we all know that school administrators oversee administrative tasks in schools, colleges, or other educational institutions. They ensure that the organizations run smoothly and they also manage facilities and staff. Its duties varies depending on the size as well as the type of the school they work in. For example, school administrators in a small daycare centers, kindergarten, or elementary school, where they may be the only member of the administrative team, have different scope of responsibility than at the large colleges and universities, okay, where they may be specialized in a specific area. Generally, those school administrators manage budgets, handle logistics, and act as a point of reference for everyone in the school. School administrators' responsibilities includes coordinating all administrative processes, managing budgets, policies, and events, resolving conflicts and other issues involving in their area of concern. So, talking about the qualities of a school administrator, the thing that we need for a school administrators are they should be capable planners, possess good judgment, and skilled in handling relations with various people, staff, parents, students, regulatory bodies, and the public. A great school administrator also has an attention to detail and conflict management skills. School administrator, you'll need to wear different hats: the planner, the problem solver, the educator, and the counselor, being a few of them. You need to be committed to high quality education and have the skills to communicate with various people. Handles and coordinates budget as well as logistics and keep all educational programs running. So we know from research into effective schools across the world that most successful head teachers or principals both lead and manage the people in their schools. They have a decentralized education system in schools. We need to be clear about which tasks are mostly about management and which tasks mostly about leadership, in order to encourage to develop responsibility and accountability within our school. Leadership is focused on vision, motivation, the future, and the teams and the people in your school. When it comes to management, it provides systems and processes essential to the smooth day-to-day running or operation of the school. It is actually on how are we going to give life on the systems, processes, institutional standards to attain the philosophy, vision, mission, and objectives of the school. So both leadership and management are essential for successful school development. The preparation and development of school leaders in the Philippines is actually influenced by historical, policy, and cultural dynamics. And these are manifest both in the path educators take to become principals, in the way they develop and practice their skills once they are on the job. And this is according to the Guzman in 2007. No? In the Philippines, the principal works in a complicated and interconnected historical, policy, and cultural milieu. Leadership in the Philippines originated in the context of the village community and continues to operate with community and familial dynamics as leaders, administrators, and managers conduct their work in formal educational organizations. The country has experienced historical periods of pre-colonial, colonial, and post-colonial influence that initially created high centralized frameworks when it comes to policy and leadership models, but have more recently given way to more decentralized practices that are in keeping with worldwide leadership trends. Yet, while the Philippines has adopted some more modern ways of thinking about the principalships, about leadership, there is a tension in that in order to be culturally relevant. These ideas must be interpreted in relation to how leadership actually occurs in Filipino culture. Leadership operates most effectively in Filipino culture through relationships and kinship networks, like what we had in our school, where most of the employees are relatives to the owners. Effective school leaders utilize kinship dynamics and networks to leverage influence in the schools and communities where they work. The relationship prioritization of leadership can lead results in positive community building or corruption, both of which are tolerated for the sake of smooth interpersonal relations. The preparation and professional development of principals in the Philippines continues to evolve as we consider the deep history and complicated context in which principal work. There is this research that offered three ways that characterize the development and practice of effective school leaders. First, the development and practice of school leaders in the Philippines include a deep understanding of historical and cultural influences on Filipino leadership in practice. This will mean a meaningful and respectful integration of local traditions and indigenous ways of knowing with Western ideas and innovation. Rather than accepting concepts from the West, the Philippines will best be served by developing indigenous forms of educational leadership that are informed by external ideas but rooted with Filipino values. Second, the practice and development of school leaders in the Philippines engages the unique gaps between theory, policy, and practice. And fortunately, there is this little research that examines the principalships from a critical perspective, or that looks at the complicated intersection of these dynamic aspects of their practice. Finally, the development of school leaders and practice of leadership in the Philippines has a strong emphasis on ethical leadership. This is critical as leaders are there to stand up to cultural dynamics manifest as corruption and nepotism. Ultimately, though we recognize that there is much good work happening in the Philippines, and that for real and substantive change is to take place, it should be led and developed by Filipino leaders and with a sensitivity to the unique challenges and opportunities in the face school principals in the Philippines. When it comes to leadership styles, leaders in education can play an integral role in creating a positive school culture. It can also influence students' learning and achievement, effective leadership, effective school leadership is increasingly viewed as the key to far-reaching educational transformation. With the right leadership approach, education heads can turn an average school into a successful one. Creating a positive learning culture in school is what is the most important and challenging jobs for any teacher, for any school administrator, for any leader. That's because education is not only about going to school and giving a lecture. It is also has a lot to do with instilling confidence and inspiration in the young minds, as well as to motivate them to do well in their lives. That is why it is vital to learn about effective leadership practices that can be followed in school. There are many different effective leadership styles that are used in schools. The democratic style, which is one of the Goldman leadership styles, and is one also of the most effective ones. It uses the basic principles of democracy to find solution to certain problems. To understand how democracy works in the classroom, you first need to learn what democracy is. This method of leadership, when it comes to instructional style, focuses on the quality of teaching directly. A school that employs, it concentrates on the development of its teachers in order to ensure that the students get the possible learning experience in the classrooms. And this has been found as one of the best educational leadership styles in terms of students' performance. By working with teachers to improve their skills through coaching, the school leaders help in strengthening the school grasp on educational quality. So when we look at the OECD report, Improving School Leadership suggests that effective school management generally comes from engagement in instructional leadership. There's a growing body of evidence that allows or which shows that schools with instructional leadership outperform others. And this coaching style of leadership concentrates on student teaching and student learning outcomes by improving the teaching quality. And to realize this goal, school leaders adopted the responsibility for the professional development of teachers. Instructional leaderships involve the practice of planning, evaluation, coordination, and improvement of teaching and learning. According to the Australian Institute for Teaching and School Leadership, instructional leaders define the school mission, manage the instructional program, promote high expectation, and provide incentives for teachers and students. Working directly with teachers, instructional leaders evaluate teachers' performance and help advance their skills through mentoring and coaching. Becoming an instructional leader entails time spent solving pedagogical problems, taking action to improve teachers' instruction, as well as holding teachers accountable within the school community. Requires leaders to have an in-depth understanding of pedagogy and practice themselves. So the other style or leadership style is the authoritative style. As opposed to democracy, which we talked a while ago, this style is used in order to drive people towards a particular vision. The people who use this in school or in the classroom are those that are self-confident and like to inspire change. For a school, this kind of leadership style is very effective whenever a new vision is required or when things need to be changed at a fundamental level. The leader decides what this change will be and then motivates others to work for that change. The other leadership style is the coaching style. So when you research effective school leadership practices, you are likely to find this as one of the best styles to develop a strong base in people for long-term development. It encourages teachers and young students to try some examples of new things in order to develop their own strengths, to be more aware of their weaknesses. And this leads to more self-awareness, which help people focus on their strength in a much more positive way. The other style is the transformational style. Transformational leadership style. This one is a very effective leadership style. It is very effective way to not only teach, but also run a school. It focuses on role modeling, whereby the leaders create an innovative culture in the school by inspiring others. People running at the education institute or the school share a sense of purpose as a result of this style, and are also given a chance to have their voices heard during the process of decision making. Taking a collaborative approach, transformational leaders empower their school teams to have a say in decision making processes and enable collective goal setting. And through role modeling, these leaders create a culture of innovation and improvement and a shared sense of purpose. This sets a foundation for growth and success. Transformational leaders are able to influence school outcomes by outlining high performance expectations, developing people through individual support, building productive relationships by providing instructional support. According to researchers Bernard Bass, the 4 attributes of transformational leadership are defined as idealized influence, inspirational motivation, intellectual stimulation, and individualized considerations. Transformational leaders instill trust, admiration, loyalty, and respect, which inspire teachers' motivation, morale, and performance. The influence exerted by transformational leaders has been described as the generating of feelings. Using charisma, compassion, and emotional intelligence, transformational leaders are able to monitor and manage not only their own emotions, but those of others as well. And this gives them the ability to energize their teams and drive successes. Studies have shown that transformational leadership has a direct impact on their teachers' performance, with teachers willingly to take steps to improve their classroom practices. The findings also show that transformational leadership increases teachers' job satisfaction and strengthens their commitment to professional growth. And this result is improved student outcomes and lasting progress across the school system. The other one is Constructivist leadership. This type of leadership is about facilitating the learning process rather than directing it. At the core of the constructivist approach is that learners control their own learning, not teachers. This one is acknowledging that every learner understands, processes, and gives meaning to lessons through their own reality. Constructivism places a priority on customized teaching approaches that take into consideration individual learning needs. School leaders who embrace the constructivist model shift the focus within their school from knowledge as a product to knowing as a process. Instruction in curriculum design under this leadership encourages the sharing of big ideas and challenging others' perspective. The classroom is seen as a place where inquiry and construction dominate. Constructivist leaders expect teachers to engage in reflective practices and processes with their students and peers. The purpose of reflection is to challenge previous assumptions about teaching and learning and to rethink and reframe student participation. Constructivist leadership is about immersing teachers in the culture of learning and enabling them to take risks. It's not about dictating. No? It's not about dictating to teachers on how to deliver instruction. It's about educating teachers that we are all learners. The other one is the servant leadership style. This participatory style of leadership pushes the ego aside and considers the needs of others rather than focus on self-interest. The philosophy behind servant leadership is that a great leader must first serve others, and that this simple fact is central to his or her greatness. True leadership emerges from those whose primary motivation is a desire to help others. School leaders who practice servant leadership maintain high expectations. However, they also help teachers and students to develop their skills to improve their performance. And these leaders instill the desire for improvement while maintaining a focus on both results and relationships. The former president of the Robert Greenleaf Center for Servant Leadership identified the 10 characteristics of servant leaders as listening, empathy, healing, awareness, persuasion, conceptualization, foresight, servant leadership, stewardship, commitment to the people, commitment to the growth of people, and building community. Servant leaders are able to cultivate high-performance teachers by removing barriers, providing resources, and opening communication channels with the whole school community. Sharing the power in decision-making, servant leaders motivate and persuade the school community to fulfill their long-standing vision. By engaging, like servant leaders can implement structural changes, by engaging with teachers and students on what the school's future should look like. Servant leaders can implement structural changes that keep an eye on the bigger picture. Research shows that in a long-term, servant leadership creates a positive and productive school environment. When it comes to strategic leadership, it is based on a long-range planning. Through analysis, evaluation, and monitoring, strategic leaders assess current school performance and take the necessary steps to improve future results. And these leaders not only set the direction of the school by having an organizational vision, they create frameworks, set up interventions, allocate resources, and maintain systems for reforms to take place. There are several guidelines or principles of strategic leaders. Rather than focusing on the day-to-day issues, strategic leaders are future-oriented and prepare for the uncertain destiny. These leaders base their decisions on evidence and research, drawing on the data that demonstrates school learning outcomes. Strategic leaders will respond with the most suitable approach, whether that's staff training, reviewing policies and guidelines or procedures, or fostering a culture of achievements. Innovation is at the heart of strategic leaders' mission. They're looking for ways to improve the school environment, whether that's relationship building, embracing diversity, or creating partnership with parents. Strategic leaders invest in partnership across the school community and use the power of collective thinking to build a values-based school where transparency, ethics, and accountability are at the cornerstone of their leadership. Studies have shown that using strategy as a tool to manage an educational organization is at the heart of developing successful schools in the long term. Aligning organizational structures, processes, culture, and people behind a strategic focus is critical to this success. So why does leadership matter? Great school leadership is the bedrock for great schools. And evidence suggests that effective leadership is essential to creating a learning environment where every student has access to high-quality education. Teachers or even administrators who pursue postgraduate education in leadership will be able to support effective teaching and learning pedagogies or strategies, keep pace with transformation across the education industry, and inject new thinking into schools. So when it comes to managerial style, school leaders are most of the time serves as school administrators or educational managers in a specific department, most especially in small schools. They're actually in charge with the planning and implementation of all the expected responsibilities assigned to fulfill the goals of the institution. In managing the teachers, it is expected to let them learn to embrace their task as part of their job design, anchored from the Department of Education and the Commission on Higher Education's policy for instruction, research, and extension. In performing their daily tasks, most of our educational managers are performing basics of managerial style, which shall be adapted from the different theories and sometimes influenced from their organizational cultures. In this case, I just provided and presented here the common managerial styles adopted by most educational managers. One here is the autocratic, democratic, and laissez-faire. Autocratic style is a style which we can glean on the administrative management theory by Henry Fayol. This actually explained the 14 guiding principles of management theory, namely initiative, equity, scalar design, remuneration of personnel, unity of direction, discipline, division of work, authority and responsibility, unity of command, subordination, centralization, order, stability of tenure, and spread the core. The other one is democratic, and we can glean this particular style in the scientific theory and the bureaucratic management theory of Frederick Taylor and Max Weber. Mind Tools 2020 emphasized the 4 principles of scientific management theory, namely the use of scientific method of work, the use of scientific method to study, work, and determine the most efficient way to perform specific tasks. The other one is match workers to their jobs based on capability and motivation, and to train them to work at their maximum efficiency. And third, to monitor work performance and provide instructions and supervision to ensure that they are using the most efficient ways of working. The fourth one is allocating the work between managers and workers so as they spend their time planning and training, allowing the workers to perform their tasks efficiently. When it comes to bureaucratic management, according to Edono 2020, bureaucratic management theory adhered to the 6 principles, namely proper division of labor, chain of command, separation of personnel and official property, application of consistent rules, selection and promotion based on qualification, rational objectives, and consistency. In carrying the daily operations, educational administrators must follow the 4 functions of management: planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. Educational administration is regarded as the total processes, inclusive of all responsibilities and functions necessary for running a school. It provides and manages various elements of the teaching-learning situations, such as the learners, the teachers, the curriculum, and the socio-physical environment. In the absence of this function, the school cannot function effectively. So when it comes to planning, so planning is an essential component. It is a useful exercise to be undertaken by administrators. It involves systematic, organized, and an articulated scheme of working. So planning can be taught at the beginning of the session. Second one is organization. It is also an important function of good administration. The effective and efficient work of the school depends upon the good organization. The essential element of an organization is people. Again, the essential element of the organization is people. What they do and how they work together. So for good organization, the administrator should define the purpose, analyze and identify the task required to meet these objectives, allocate related activities to other staff, and provide for management and coordination of activities at each level of responsibility. And lastly, establish a reporting and communication channel. In directing, you must have a sense of direction. Direction is an important function of an educational administration. Direction provides getting the work done through instruction and orders. There should be proper supervision, motivation, and communication on the part of the administrator for getting the work done. The ultimate aim is to see that work is accomplished according to policies and guidelines and programs and the given instructions. Directing involves exercising leadership, motivating people, determining accountability, and developing guidelines for action. The last one is controlling. No? It involves measuring and monitoring performance, comparing results with plans, and taking corrective actions when required. It indicates how far the goals have been achieved and to what extent there is a deviation from the plans. The basis of control is measurement. Control deals with this difference between planned and the actual performance. So administration is concerned with managing resources, allocating tasks, condition or making decisions, and solving problems. The function is to create favorable conditions for the educational process and their maintenance at an effective level. For effective organization, good administration should involve planning, organizing, directing, motivating, controlling, and decision-making. So if you are wondering why leadership is important in education, you should have a clearer idea now. The use of effective leadership practices in school is crucial in order to provide students with an environment that is conducive to learning. There is no one best leadership style in education. Each of the different leadership methods may be employed in different situations that is based on what the need of the time is. There are many other styles that you will find in that are usually practiced in schools. This will help understand why leadership is important in schools and what ways it can help create a culture of innovation, learning, and self-awareness. Online instruction in higher and basic education has grown mostly at times due to pandemic. So if we can identify leadership styles that works best in the classroom, faculty can be trained to utilize them. If we can identify leadership styles that works best in the schools, school leaders can be trained to utilize them. One size does not necessarily fit all. And if leadership or managerial style is not working, it would be advantageous for school leaders and faculty to have more leadership styles in their toolkit. And this is my references. Thank you for listening. Good day and God bless us all.